Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing is making budgetary proposals for the purchase of maintenance and fueling of generators at its headquarters and various agencies.
Yes, indeed. An ironic, but realistic development due to the ministry's inability to guarantee constant power supply in the new year. Now, it therefore has to make arrangements to ensure that its offices stay in operation, the same way business owners have been forced to seek alternative electricity solutions for themselves. Now, Nigeria currently generates and distributes an average of 4,000 megawatts of electricity, and the sector is still suffering from a serious liquidity crisis despite being privatized since November 1, 2013.
Well, an analysis of the 2019 budget proposal submitted by President Muhammadu Buhari to the National Assembly shows that the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing will get 441 billion naira for capital and recurrent expenditure. One is forced to wonder what the problem is with the power sector that has proven a challenge too difficult to solve for so many years despite the huge allocations and funds constantly pumped into the sector.
All right, let's hear from the people on the streets before we come to our guests right here in the studio. Let's hear what they have to say about the power situation.
Electricity is a very integral part of any society. From homes to workspaces, religious organizations, just name it, you cannot do without power. I am Abosede Omowi, and I'm on the streets to find out from people exactly what their experiences have been of power supply. Please come along.
I think it's been good, so we can say they've improved. But I hope it's not political light because this is the Christmas season and that's when we're having it. I hope it's going to continue in January.
Surulera is my area, Lawanson. I have lights. I always normally have lights here. Before I left this morning, there was lights.
I live at Bamako Estate, Ojodu Bega, and the electricity supply is fair. Compared to other areas, it's fair.
I'm living at Wawa, OPK Estate, where since December, 1st of December, we are having lights regularly all the time. Since December 1st till now, where I stand here, they never take light even one day.
As regards where I stay, it has not been so frequent, but you can have it probably 5 days. It won't be epileptic for that 5 days, and afterwards it goes off for like 2-3 days.
I stay around Alagbole or Emeji area. Usually we have lights by 10 in the night, and they usually take it by 7 the next morning. But they don't bring it during the day, I don't know why, but always during the midnight, so that's like it. And the bill per se, it is exorbitant.
I stay at Magboro, precisely Lagos-Badoo Expressway. Every month we have light, every week twice. That simply means we're having light every month, 8 times.
Before we used to at least get let's say 6 hours, but now you can't boast of 1 hour.
I live in Omole. We have a constant light now. I think something like 12 hours in a day. Sometimes, they rotate it, but at least every day we are short of light.
I live at Oluwakemi, Ojodu Abiodun, Ogun State. We are very close to Lagos border. For the past 20 years, we are not enjoying light. At times of recent, they bring light at 5 hours, midnight. As at now, no light.
I live at Ishere Magodo, so we see light constant. Right from last year, January, today, we see light constant.
Living at Olowora, very close to us here. Recently, there is a great difference.
In the way where I live now, for example, life is not that stable at all. It's not stable. Even Olowora outside, because I have a friend there, and the same thing applies.
I stay in Magodo phase 1 actually. For the past 2 months now, although I'm new in that area, but when I came there was light. But for almost 2 months, we've not had light, blackout.
I sexy the most, but mostly we don't have lights. Because CD, to buy film, it requires lights. So in a day we spend more than fuel of 3,405 every day. So please let them help us in this studio. We need lights.
Well, normal sometimes we have lights, but like 3 or 4 days they will not give us lights. fuel now, before you get fuel, sometimes it's very difficult. And we spend like 3-5 a day for fuel.
The light is not actually constant here. We run 2 business here. The beer parlor, the restaurant, and the Does Bet company, and also a Bet King is also here. And we run almost 20 liters of fuel in a day. That will cost 6,000 naira. Whereby you calculate your profit and everything, the sales and everything, you are not making any gain.
Indeed, the significance of electricity cannot be overemphasized. And as Nigerians have called on government, we hope that the year 2019 will be a year of better and improved power supply. Abosede Omowuyi, TVC News, Lagos.
Well, we're hoping alongside Abosede there that the power situation will really improve.
Well, Jane, the irony of it is, within the same city, some people are saying we have light 12 hours a day, we have light. You go to other places, they say... So, it comes to the issue of the shedding they talk about. You know, you switch it here small, you switch it there small, but some people are giving priority.
But is it really, is that what the problem is? Is it really about shedding? Or, you know, in some cases, all of 3 days, there's no light at all, and nobody, you know, deems it fit to even explain to people.
We will also talk about the issue of infrastructure, whether it has the capacity to handle the megawatts that is being generated and all of that. Joining us for the discussion is Chief Executive Officer Energy, Femi Adeyemo. Good morning.
Good
and
morning.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, and thanks for having me this morning.
Make us understand, since in fact Nigeria has never really, okay, let me be a little more conservative. In the last 2 decades, Nigeria has not really cannot boast of constant light where everyone can say, okay, we have gotten it. And there's continuous investment, billions of dollars, billions of naira into the power sector. What do you think, as an overview first, before we go into the kernels of the issue, how challenging is it?
Yeah, it's indeed challenging. And so just to break it down, why? So if you look at the developed countries of the world, so there is a rule of thumb that states that for every 1 million people, you need 1,000 megawatts for a nation to be regarded as an industrialized nation. So bringing that to Nigeria, the last NBS report, I think, put us at about 200 million people.
Yes.
So if you want to put that together, that means we need 200. That's 1 million people, like I said, for
every 1 million.
1 megawatt. So if you have 200 million people, you need 200 megawatts. Right? 200,000 megawatts. Exactly. Yeah, 200,000 megawatts. So 4,000 megawatts, that's where we've been hovering over the last 4 years. But we need 200,000 megawatts, which is 2 gigawatts. So that's why you will say that, there will be load shedding. Some places we have electricity, some will not have electricity.
Yeah, but if we need, based on that recommendation, even countries like United States, do they have up to 200,000 megawatts?
Yes, so again, because, if you look at United States, yes, I can tell you they have that. And I will use Germany as an example. So last year, Germany deployed 40 gigawatt, that's 40,000 megawatts of solar alone. So South Africa, a country of about 15 million people, a few years ago when South Africa began to experience power outages, it was because they dropped from their 40,000 megawatts, right? The population was increasing and they couldn't meet up with the 1,000 megawatts to 1 million people. So that's the rule of thumb.
So 4,000 is a complete non-starter.
It's
so that is not even enough for a state.
It's not enough. However, what has helped us as a nation, right, is because people have sort of become their own power provider. If you look at generator capacities in Nigeria, it's put at about 60,000 megawatts. Right. So, the record put it that we have about 60 million generators.
Yeah, but in the long run, is that good for the nation? Because the point there is that Nigeria is not benefiting from that.
The 60,000.
60,000.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's not good for the nation, and that's why, for companies like us, and even what is going on in the global stage now, it is to switch to a cleaner form of electricity. which if we then go back to the distributed power, 1,000 megawatt to 1 million people, most of those, even when the advanced countries were built out, they were centralized systems. And the future now is even going decentralized, right? Because if you look at our experience with the telecom industry, right? I mean, we didn't have to build all the lines like the advanced countries. We leapfrogged from the typical legal, I mean, the NITEL, I mean, which is the legacy line, and we switched to the mobile network. And you can see how drastic and
the change has been.
Exactly, the change has been.
Now,
so,
I mean, the figures are quite outstanding. You know, the 5 trillion naira is what Nigerian businesses spend on generators every year.
That's correct.
In addition to the $5 billion that's spent by every Nigerian every year on generators, including the power ministry itself, you know, that has actually drawn attention by, you know, putting out there the figure that they're budgeting for generators, you know, maintenance and all of that for this year. All right, still talking about Babatunde Raji Fashola, the Minister for Power Works and Housing. He actually said not too long ago, about 3 weeks or so ago, that Nigerians should stop blaming the federal government for the state of power supply. That, look, you know, the power sector has been privatized since November of 2013. And, you know, Nigerians should lay their complaints before the DISCOs and the GENCOs, who are the ones who really should be answering questions as to why, you know, power sector is the way it is.
Yeah, so maybe I'll play devil's advocate here, right? So from where we stand as a private sector player, and I mean, based on some of the figures I've reeled out, I mean, it's crystal clear to us that if Nigeria will have electricity, uninterrupted electricity, it has to be private sector driven. I mean, until... It's
in private hands and we're still not getting the kind of results that we need. Are we being impatient or what? Because the DISCOs say that we cannot really fix the problem of power supply until 2023.
Okay, so the way I will look at it and the way we have been handling it, I mean, as an industry and as practitioner, like I've mentioned before, if you look at what is happening globally now, there is that shift away now from the decentralized, DISCO-based power to you having decentralized systems. Whereby, and that could be, I mean, C&I means commercial and industrial. So now I can tell you that in Nigeria now we have some of the multinationals that are putting solar panel on their roof, some more than 1 megawatt. And I'm talking the likes of Coca-Cola, Cadbury, and the likes. So that is what will help us to get power. We have to shift away from the centralized where we rely only on the Kanji and other gas-fired plants that Avengers might do, I mean, the magic again. I mean, but if you have it decentralized, you need power in Kaduna, you are generating it in Kaduna, you are consuming it in Kaduna. You need it in Lagos or in Port Harcourt, and you are generating and consuming right there. That's actually what we need to do as a nation to be able to.
So many companies have been generating their own power sources and all of that, independent power sources. But are there any legal framework rather, that kicks against full-blown maybe a state deciding not to be part of the grid system and you know, generating its own power?
Yeah, so I mean the way the regulation is now, I mean, it's not open. However, I mean, recently, and I'm talking of 2018, even the Lagos state government had this embedded power plan that they plan to generate about 3,000 megawatts.
Edo State is also planning.
Yeah, Edo State is also. So we need more of that. We need states to do this. We need multinationals to power their facility. Again, I mean, that has been happening, but it's been on fossil fuel-based diesel, which again has a negative and adverse effect on the population, on the environment. So that shift has to be with, I mean, a very good mix of renewable clean sources.
But if government was to take your advice, how soon can, you know, such a shift happen? And what would be the low-hanging fruits, you know, that we can begin to plug to, solve this problem.
Okay, so I'm not sure if we'll still get to the budget like you mentioned, but for instance, if you
about
look
441 billion.
Okay, so if you look at even the Ministry of Power, right? So sometime last year, Q4 last year, there was an agreement that was widely publicized where the Federal Ministry of Power signed a 10-year power purchase agreement with the consortium to power the headquarters, with solar. A 750 kilowatt, that's about 950 kVA solution during the day, and about 100 kVA, that's 75 kilowatts at night. And based on what was publicized, it's a power purchase agreement, which is what the companies and SMEs that we are powering are doing now. You don't even have to buy the asset. The most interesting thing is globally, there are funds, billions of dollars waiting to be tapped for this type of clean, renewable energy infrastructures. So it's just for us to then get ready. So to answer your question, is the government thinking of that? I was excited when I read that even at the Federal Ministry of Power level, at the headquarters, they're already thinking of that. And looking at the budget, I look at some of the Federal Ministry of Power agencies, for instance, the Rural Electrification Agency. And if you look at the budgets for 2018 compared to 2019, you will see a drastic reduction. And what that means is they're already looking at, switching from, the fossil fuel generator base to renewable energy.
All right.
Okay.
Excuse me.
We'll have to leave it there. Femi Adeyemo is the CEO of R-Energy. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you for coming.
Hopefully the next time you're here, we will have better reports.
Absolutely.
You will need to grab a glass of water.